Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Nylon Report. My name is Susan Nylon in the studio WSRQ. I am here with my political roundtable right now. Let me welcome Candace McCallia from 360 Public Relations. Hi, Candace. How are you?
Hi, good. I'm happy to be back.
Happy to have you back. We also have Republican State Committeeman Christian Ziegler. Second week in a row.
That's right.
Hey, Christian.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And also they brought with them Mary Slapp. She's the Executive Director of the Gulf Coast Builders Exchange. And first time on the show. Hi, Mary.
My very first time. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So our political roundtable, what each of us do is we bring a topic to the table and then we all kind of toss it out there and we discuss it. We all coming from a different political vantage point, not just party, but also affiliation and everything, so it'll be good. Who wants to go first? I don't know what yours is, Candace. I heard Mary and Christian, but I don't know what yours is.
Well, I had two, but the first was just sort of an announcement. I wanted to just talk about the new venture that
why don't we do that at the end?
Okay, we'll do that at the end.
Do the announcement at the end.
And then I was going to talk about Donald Trump coming back to Sarasota and just how we're able to attract so many high-profile political figures and why we're such a big draw.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. What did you? Okay. Is that it?
Well, yeah. So Donald Trump, surprise! Donald Trump's coming back to Sarasota, which I was actually surprised. This is the second time here. I'm sure you can speak more to this, Christian, than I can. But I just think it's kind of amazing when you look at Sarasota being a relatively small town and compared to other big cities nationally.
Sure.
We're able to attract these really large, high-profile political figures. And so why? I mean, why are we such a draw? Obviously, Florida's a big state, clearly, but second time for Mr. Trump to come back. So what do you think? What's the big draw for him? I mean, we are giving him an award again, right?
The awards are key. Everyone loves awards.
Right.
No, I mean, I think with Joe and both myself, with our reach and our relationships that we've developed at the national level and statewide level, that's helped really draw some of these candidates. And also Sarasota, I mean, it's a phenomenal place. I mean, when you look at Sarasota and you look at the vote results in Sarasota County, it really, for statewide races, you need to win Sarasota to win the state of Florida. And obviously, in order to win the presidency, you have to win the state of Florida. So I think Sarasota County has really developed into a battleground county. And a lot of these candidates and elected officials out there really realize that, and they come down and I think both sides, Republicans, I mean, we get a lot of speakers. Democrats have pulled some good speakers themselves as well to this area, and I just, I think it's the importance of the area.
Well, I got to ask though, why Trump? Why twice? And
like once isn't enough. I mean, come on,
exactly.
right?
I
love
mean,
it.
Of all the people that you could have pulled from, why Donald Trump twice?
Donald Trump is one of the most dynamic and sometimes controversial.
Sometimes.
But he's one of the most dynamic speakers that you could pull in, and all of these individuals are coming here. We're not paying them to come here.
No, you're giving them an award.
We're giving them an award, but these people, they command a lot of money when you start talking speaker fees. But Donald Trump's created a ton of jobs. He's been one of the most successful business people in the entire country, and that's what he's really built his career on. So we're excited to have him and honor him again.
You sure it's not the search for the great hairstylist?
That could be a really good selling feature for tickets.
Lots of good ones in
Yes.
Sarasota.
Okay, and I do get that, but I have to say that I had to cringe when he came in again a second time, let alone that it's the essentially for the second time. Wait, the first ever second time.
Two-time winner.
Two-time winner.
You got it. You got it.
The first two-time winner of the Statesman of the Year award.
Yeah.
So, no, it's exciting. I mean, I don't think, obviously he tells it how it is. And I think a lot of Americans, I know there's a lot of talk recently about some of the events he's been at. He's drawn a lot of cheers. And it's because he just flat out speaks his mind. He says what he thinks. And, sometimes you get these politicians that are a little too scripted. And he goes right at it. So whether you agree or disagree, I mean, the guy tells it what he thinks.
Did you have him because you think he's going to be on the ballot?
Well, I think he's actually running. I mean, he hired a guy inside baseball. He hired some guy in Iowa that only works with people that are for sure running for president. He does the ground game in Iowa. He went with Rick Santorum last time and won Iowa. So I think Donald Trump definitely is. I know he's thinking about it. I would lean towards. I really think he's actually running this time, which it's always exciting to have people right before they run. We had Ben Carson about 3 or 4 days, I think, before he announced.
Yeah, how'd that go, by the way?
Fantastic event. Actually, the VIP event was even nicer because I got a chance to really talk to him. the guy's got a great story. I mean, he's got a great pro-America dream story that I wasn't even aware of. To be honest, Ben Carson wasn't really on my radar until I get to sit down and talk to him. But that's what's interesting about these events. You really get to talk to these individuals instead of look on what's on the media.
Are you, go ahead, Katrina.
Oh, well, I was going to kind of switch it over to the Democrat side. I mean, I've heard rumblings that Hillary might be coming here too. So.
Yeah, we just had Bernie Sanders was here about a month or so
It
ago.
was? I didn't even know. I
You
missed
didn't
that.
Yeah, I
miss
didn't know
that?
How did I miss that?
How did you miss that? It
He's
was
one of my favorites.
It was. I'm sure he is. If I had known that, I would have taken you that evening. You would have.
Next time,
You would have
next
been
time.
my
And
date.
and for the record, that was sarcasm.
I know.
I don't want this clip like coming back to haunt me in like 20 years, right?
Soundbite.
Yeah, soundbite.
Exactly. I have it on tape. That'll be the new promo for the
There
show.
we go.
Christian Ziegler saying, "Wow, he was one of my favorites."
Yeah, exactly.
I'll leave out the sarcasm.
Yes.
No, they had over 600 people at a
From
dinner.
Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
Really?
Raised over $100,000 that evening at the Hyatt. In tradition of the Republicans, they kind of matched you guys. And yeah, they're looking at Hillary as well.
Was that the night that Barney Frank was here? Was it the same night?
Darn it! I did it again. Oh, faux pas. I meant Barney Frank.
Oh.
Oh,
we missed it.
Barney Frank, I definitely
This is
forgot
the
like.
Friday.
Susan is really bad with names.
I terrible with names. Ask Candace. I only introduced her as Kirsten.
I was like, I wonder how I missed that. I was wondering how I missed that. But
I'm
thinking,
so bad with
who was
names.
their PR people?
That's right, they're both socialists.
Barney
So.
Frank, Barney Frank, Barney Frank. I gotta say it 3 times to remember it. Yeah, oops. Not Bernie Sanders, but who knows, you know? Now that I've announced it.
Right.
I think we're going to be obligated to bring him now.
Well, no, he's not going to come because he already got the press hit.
There
So
you
now
go.
he's not coming.
He got the 911 report bump,
That's it.
right?
That's it.
But I mean, I agree with you, Candace, is that we do have an incredible draw in Sarasota. We are a hotbed of politics. I also think it's because we have a lot of check writers here. I mean, don't you agree, Mary, that that's part of the interest of the candidates that come, and not even just the candidates. I mean, we had John Boehner a couple of years ago. You guys brought him in. Marco Rubio has been here a couple of times. I mean, we write the checks, and that makes a big difference for them.
We do write the checks, but we're also a very intelligent community, very educated, very thoughtful about our politics, very active, very involved. So I think they come here, they also get ideas. They get to interact with a great group of folks that represent what's going on in the rest of the country. Money doesn't hurt, though.
Money
And
definitely
everyone
doesn't
votes
hurt.
here because we have an older population that really goes out and votes. So it helps
Except in
with
the
as
city
well.
elections.
Except in the
right?
city
Except in the city,
election.
yes.
Which
Talking
we-
presidential.
Right, yeah.
We have an incredibly high percentage. In fact, what was it, 57% or something?
Yeah, might have, yeah.
I thought
Turnout.
it was higher.
It
Well,
was-
that's the gubernatorial and the presidential.
It was
will
like
be up in there.
75 or something.
I think it's even
I think
higher
it's
than that.
80.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's in the 80s, yeah.
We really care about certain elections, not all elections, but you're absolutely right. However, some of the people that you guys bring in, they don't get the vote here except if they're running for president. So, but it's certainly a good launching pad. Are you looking at bringing anyone else in the future? You want to scoop anybody here?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
we're-
Bernie Sanders, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely
Gotta
not
give
bringing
me
him in. No, we're looking at everyone. I mean, if anyone has announced or is talking about announcing, we're in active talks with them all the time to bring them in. So I know the CEO of HP, Carly Fiorina. She's
Oh, sure.
she's looking at
Former
possibly
CEO.
Former CEO. Sorry, I apologize. She's looking at coming. Everyone else that's run for, I know Ted Cruz is very interested in coming back. I've talked to his team about that. So we're always trying to bring in, everyone that's running, and it's great for the local community. People get access; they get to see these people in person. And I always encourage everyone, whether you support them or not, come out to the event, hear what they have to say, and make a decision for your own.
And now it's a little different this time. I'm sorry. Where was it a free event last time when Trump came?
It's a free
No,
event.
with Trump it was a paid event. It was
Last
at the
time.
Ritz, and we
Right.
set the record. Hey, of course, Donald Trump sets the record at the Ritz for most people. I think it was about 1,000 people. We packed that place in. But now it's a free event at the Van Wezel on May 21st, and you can get tickets at SarasotaGOP.com. Shameless plug. Shameless
I
plug.
guess we kind of opened ourselves up for that one. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation and move on to other topics. I know Mary Slapp is a really good topic that we'll start off with. She is the Executive Director of the Gulf Coast Builders Exchange, and Candace McCallia of 360 Public Relations, and Christian Ziegler, who is a God, I'm stumbling on them. Republican State Committeeman. And of course, I have a topic that I think Christian is going to appreciate in regard to the local elections. So you want to stay tuned. You're listening to the Nile Report on WSRQ. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Nylon Report. My name's Susan Nylon in the studio of WSRQ. And with me right now for a political roundtable is Candace McCallia. See, I got your name right.
That's a hard one.
I know.
Can't even try.
Please, don't challenge me on that. 360 Public Relations, along with Republican State Committeeman Christian Ziegler, and Executive Director of the Gulf Coast Builders Exchange, Mary Slapp. Thanks for coming in today, guys. I appreciate it. All right, Mary, you're on the political hot seat right now. What topic do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about what this community is going to look like in the future. There was a lot of discussion in the community about the 2050 plan in Sarasota. Yet when you say 2050 to me, I don't think just out east. This is a much bigger community from Northport to Newtown, from east to west. What do we want to be when we grow up? And what can we come together on? Where can we find that community consensus? And who's keeping tabs? Who's keeping the score sheet?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I think you know, this kind of leads a little bit into your topic for later too, but I think there's so many, whenever a new development comes into play or whenever there's, you know, talk of new homes or new construction, you have people that come out of the woodwork and really go crazy about it. And I think, you know, Florida surpassed New York for the highest population in America. I think, what was it, last year or 2 years ago? So people are coming, and I think we have to plan for it. I mean, we can't just say, you know, close off the doors to Florida and don't let people come here anymore. We have to plan for it. We have to do it in a way that everyone feels included and that it's collaborative. But what is that magic
Well, that
formula?
takes planning.
Right.
That takes planning. You know, I can easily say, gee, I liked things in 1979 when
Yeah.
I first came down here. You know,
Right.
probably many of you weren't here.
Yeah.
But that's
I
the
was.
reality. There you go.
72.
Oh, you beat me.
Wow.
But
84.
Florida's economy is dependent on agriculture, construction, and what's my third leg?
Tourism.
Thank you.
But I think the problem for most people with the 2050 is the fact that they found that the original 2050 plan that they all agreed upon was livable. Not exactly 100% of what they wanted, but full of compromises.
Now, who all thought that? Because
Well,
not everybody thought that.
Well, actually, everyone I think who worked on the 2050 plan, from the environmentalists to the builders to the elected officials and the public at the time when they agreed upon it, I didn't find anyone who was actually 100% happy with it, but it was something.
When was that?
I want to say 10 years ago. I think it was.
I think a little more than that. I
Little
think
more.
it was around 2000.
Well, it actually was over a 10-year period that they actually worked on it. But when they voted on it, 2000, yeah, possibly 2000, 2002, something around that. But you might be right. But my point is that when they revisited it and opened it back up for negotiations, I think that concerned a lot of people, because I agree, planning was the whole reason behind the 2050. It's a concern over what that plan is and how much is going to be preserved and how much is going to be opened up for development. So I don't know if anybody's fears were quelled in the past year and a half when they were discussing the 2050.
Well, you know, I think it comes down to what do you do with something, you know, when you create a plan and it's obviously not working. And yes, we had a recession in there, but we had a lot of good years too. And really, we didn't see that plan, nothing developed in that plan. And the price to develop in that plan, it just wasn't workable. So when you make any plan in life, when you see that it's really not feasible, you should go back to the drawing table. You should say, you know, what isn't working? How do we make this work? And that's exactly what's happened over the last year and a half, is what can we do to actually make this workable, make sure it's good, smart growth for Sarasota County, and develop a plan that's reasonable. But the county's bigger than that. You know, what is our plan for the rest of the county? You know, what is our plan for, you know, folks from Northport? What's the plan for Newtown? What's the plan for everything in between? You know, we talk
Which
a
they
lot-
never address. And
No, that's why I
a
say
lot of
my
the-
topic wasn't really 2050. When
Sure.
you say 2050 to me, it should take in the entire community. We should be able to see a visual on that wall of here's what our community, we project that it will look like by 2050.
So why isn't that happening? I mean, we talked last week about traffic and how it's gotten to be just so unbearable lately. And there was an excellent article actually in Sarasota Magazine this month that talked about the fact that everyone's complaining about how crowded it is here and how much traffic we have, but what no one's
We don't do
talking
anything about it.
Right, and what did we do 15 years ago to plan for what we knew was coming?
Right.
And so, I mean, what's the answer? Is that, do we look to our local county commission what's the answer? How do we move it forward, I
Well, we
guess?
obviously look at the plan we have in place, and we have to do better planning for transportation. But let's be reasonable. What happened here recently with traffic, we had a wonderful tourist season again. We haven't had that in a long time. So yes, the traffic was frustrating, but I looked at all of those folks here spending their money, becoming a part of our community. That's part of living in Florida. So suddenly, the past few weeks, traffic's not so bad again anymore, is it?
Well, I think the major problem is where it bottlenecks, where it goes from 4 lanes into 2 lanes into 1, mostly over to the bridges, mostly where everyone wants to travel and visit to.
Primarily tourists.
Primarily tourists. However, there is no on-season, off-season anymore as far as traffic goes. It's pretty much year-round. When it takes something that should be 5 minutes to travel to and you're 25 minutes, that's a lot of problems. And I think that you talked about what did we do a couple of years ago to plan? We built more lanes. I mean,
Right.
how many roads did we expand with the intent of alleviating some of the pressure? We can talk easily right now about McIntosh Road that was expanded into 4 lanes. Can I tell you there's barely anyone travels that road? It's not a main artery that people will bleed off into. I know because I lost a lot of property because I live off of McIntosh Road, and they took a beautiful old spring with a ton of grand oaks, and they made it into a 5-acre retention pond because they thought the traffic was going to be intense on that road. I think that their planning needs to be more than just expanding, and I know that there was an article recently written, somebody suggested we can't keep building more lanes because we've run out of room.
That was about the city.
So what? Yeah, exactly. And I think the city is really feeling the pains of the traffic, not so much the county. But
Density. I mean, that's like one of the biggest issues
Yeah.
is, I mean, if you could allow more people to live downtown, you're going to get more cars off the road. I live on Fruitville Road, halfway between downtown and the highway. I live right across the street from Cardinal Mooney. And that, it is kind of a pain to get from downtown to my house, but I can bet a lot of those cars would not be going from downtown to 75 if they could purchase property or live right downtown if you change the density rules. I mean, we have a lot of phenomenal property that's open there that we could put up towers and people could live there, but I mean, Jesse Biter, who's a close friend, I mean, he tries to make change there and it gets completely rejected. So,
Right.
I mean, that's something that, that's another piece of the puzzle, right? I mean, if you change density, more people living downtown with their cars parked and they don't need to, they can walk to work. I always thought it was funny, Jesse always brings it up, that you have unlimited density in these business buildings and these office parks downtown, but not in the residential. It doesn't make
Sure.
any sense.
Well, because a lot of it's tied to cars, parking, and services as well. I mean, we talk about density, and I'm a proponent of actually allowing us more people to live downtown. But if you don't have the services, if you don't have the grocery stores, if you don't have the places that people shop, they can't easily access it. They're still getting in their cars. They're still driving out to the highway where a lot of them are. You have to plan better, but
Right.
public transportation needs to be a large part of that conversation. It can't just be about walking or cars because there's enough people of our population that can't walk very well.
But that's got to be a part of this whole overall plan. Even the roads you're saying that have been expanded, folks also then need to change their habits. They have to realize they don't just need to go out to I-75, which was never intended to be a commuter road to begin with. So there's got to be a PR aspect to say, hey, do you know you can go this way to work as well? But that's part of a complete plan
Yeah.
for transportation in this area. And it's something we've all got to come together on. We've got to look to our county government, our state government, and get the funding for a feasible plan within the area.
All right, and then we're going to take a quick moment. No, we're not going to take a quick moment. Oh, we have a caller right now. Bill Robertson
Exciting.
is on the line. Hi, Bill. How are you? Three.
Thank you,
But
Bill.
there are 4 people here, Bill.
Thanks for leaving me out.
That's right.
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 And I will say the last few weeks, it has eased up
It has.
considerably.
Yeah.
Considerably. So the tourists are a wonderful problem for us to have.
Absolutely, but we do need to plan for the fact that more and more
Correct.
will
We
most
can't just
likely-
be happy about it. We have to recognize
Exactly.
that there are problems, especially if everybody's sitting in traffic when emergency systems need to get through. Other issues do arise. Bill, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. And I'll remember your 3 out of 4 comment when I see you the next time.
Thanks, Bill.
You
Thanks,
were
Bill.
included. He
I
said
was?
three women.
females.
Oh, I missed
I was
that part. You were
excluded.
not, okay, then you're
Yeah.
good, Bill. You're totally
Yeah,
good with
he's
me.
good.
All right.
It's hard to take him seriously when we're looking at a picture of him on the wall taking a breathalyzer.
Or
but
the
That's a
water
good
dump
point.
on his
good
head.
points, Bill.
All right, we're going to take a moment and thank our sponsors. When we come back, more with Candace Micaiah, 360 Public Relations State Committeeman Christian Ziegler, and Gulf Coast Builders Exchange Executive Director Mary Slapp. You're listening to the Nala Report on WSRQ. Stay with us, WSRQ, and we're doing our political roundtable. So our guests today are Candace Micaiah of 360 Public Relations. We have Republican State Committeeman Christian Ziegler, and also the Executive Director of Gulf Coast Builders Exchange, Mary Slapp. All right, Christian, you're on the hot seat right now. What is
Yes.
your issue?
So Mary, since we got you here, I'm curious. I mean, the developers, obviously the big bad developers, they get a rap out there where there's, anytime they propose something or support something, there's a big group of individuals in the community that just go on, and I don't know if it's big, very vocal, if you will. It's the difference between being big and vocal, that go on the attack, right? And it always kind of gets under my skin that these developers get attacked and that individuals are attacking, job creators and people that really help build the community. And most likely they're probably doing it inside their house that was built by a developer, right? So, what's your take on that with GCBX? I mean, what are you guys doing? And how do you counter that? How powerful is that opposition? Just kind of what's your feedback on that topic?
Well, and I appreciate you saying vocal minority because I really don't think that's the general perception out there. Most people realize that developers and builders are job creators within the community. We can drive anywhere in this community and somebody built it, you're right, including your home.
Yeah.
So I don't buy into the whole big bad developer thing. Certainly there are differences of opinions. Yet we need to look at this entire community, what's good for this community, what's good for economic development in this community. We need more jobs, we need better paying jobs, we need long-term jobs. I look at, Christian, I know you have a young daughter. I have, my children are adults, but they're young adults, and I want them to stay here. I want to live the rest of my life in this community, but there needs to be opportunity. And my members create opportunities. They build those buildings where we can attract employers so that folks can stay here and help this community grow. We talked during the break about, 50% of school children being on free and reduced lunch. We really need to attack that problem. And we do that by growing this economy. So growth is not a dirty word. Developers are not big bad people. It's what we need for this community to grow and prosper. If you don't grow and prosper, you stagnate and you die. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So we may differ on specific issues within something, but I think in general we want this community, and I think everybody would agree, we want this community to grow in the right way and grow in a way that's positive for everybody. Sometimes we get caught up in the details that we don't agree on, but I don't think they're big bad developers, and I don't really think that many people think they're big bad developers.
Yeah, but I will say that a large part of the problem is that the perception that it's not all developers, it's just a few developers who carry a lot of weight, who have a lot of money behind them, and that people are concerned that they get the attention that not every other developer can get, that they get access to that not every other person can get. And there is a fear amongst the public that says, they might not be many, maybe just a handful of large developers, but they tend to get things that are in favor to them that don't make sense to the general public.
But I think that's key, that don't make sense. Okay, if they're abiding by the rules, if the rules are structured in a way that their project fits within the rules that were created, they're not getting any other access. Our government, this is a democracy, our government should be open to everybody.
Except what we've done is we've adapted those rules, and that's we go back to the 2050 in the past year and a half. The big scuttle over it was we are adapting these rules to fit to the complaints of those developers.
Well, but I think we're
Well-
adapting the rules to make it doable.
Yes.
I mean, 2050
Make
has,
it workable.
one development has been created under 2050 because nobody else besides Pat Neal wanted to take the time or the money to do
The
it.
expense
So,
involved.
right. So, I mean, I think, you at a certain point, you have to get to the realization that you have to adjust it or nobody's going to build anything here.
Right, that was a plan that wasn't working. But in general, when a development goes before the commission, for it to even get that far, it has had to go through many hurdles in order to even get to the point of being before the commission. So typically, it conforms to the rules set forth by the community, and everybody's had input into what those rules are. So yes, we do have some folks that are bigger business people than others. And that can cut both ways.
Well,
Because
in
they're
those
so well
individuals-
known, they get even a more intense scrutiny
Right.
than perhaps a smaller guy coming forward with a development.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to attack, a handful of individuals that are really kind of playing in the economy but I think it's important to remember that these individuals are also probably investing the most into the economy locally. So whether it's, I see stuff Pat Neal's pretty aggressive on social media, but I see his post and giving away a scoreboard at one of the high schools. And I mean, these individuals, they're not just building their developments, they're helping build the communities, they're involved in the communities. And I think it's important, it's fine to, criticize them where they deserve criticism or there may be speculation, but it's also important for everyone to take a step back and really truly realize that these are individuals that are putting risk out there and they're also investing a lot into the community. So
But a lot of
Good points,
a lot of the issue has also been how much of it is on the taxpayer's back. How much does the taxpayer have to assume because these developers want to build these developments? That's been the issue. The issue of net neutrality and impact fees. It's wonderful to say that the builders are providing all these jobs. They are. I worked in the construction industry for 7 years, not that long ago, and that's how I made my money. I get all that. But it's the concern that the taxpayers are going to foot a large part of that bill and won't reap the benefits. So while we're building out east of 75, the taxpayers on the other side of 75 are taking care of that. The impact fees especially, and the services. It was easy to ask, why don't the builders remain self-contained? And when they said they can't do it, that's when the public started to say, wait a minute, I don't necessarily, you mentioned the bigger plan for Ringling, and you mentioned, North Sarasota and all the other areas that we don't focus on infill. Well, because when the developers are asking for these things, they are always focused out on building east of 75. Why aren't they asking to build inside the urban service boundary? Why aren't they asking to revitalize neighborhoods?
There are plenty of developments going on inside the urban service boundary, and obviously their decisions are based on their market research and what the consumers demand. That's just a business principle. But these very same arguments, when we were talking about 2050, these very same arguments were made about the meadows. Years ago,
Sure.
Those folks who didn't want the
Bent tree.
meadows, yes, and now look at them as they're part of the fabric of our community. When you're building something, and we can, this, again, the other side of this argument, everything that's built is a mini economic engine for the community, paying taxes and investment in the community. So I know we gotta go.
Yeah, well, we don't gotta go, but we gotta take a quick break. So you wanna stay with us, because we're gonna continue our conversation. I just saw Cliff Rolls walking. It's gonna be a big party. We're talking with Candace McCallion of 360 Public Relations, Republican State Committeeman Christian Ziegler, and Executive Director of the Gulf Coast Builders Exchange, Mary Slapp. And Cliff Rolls is here. We've gotten a lot of people in the studio right now, and Mary will eventually tell us her little guest as well. Who keeps popping out? Toby with his cone of shame. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about issues that we think are good for everybody, so stay with us. And don't forget, we're also online at WSRQradio.com or on your smartphone. Just go to the Google Store and type in WSRQ Radio or tune in radio at Apple. We'll be right back on the Nylon Report right after this. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Nylon Report. My name's Susan Nyland in the studio WSRQ. Right now, I'm talking with Candace McCallia of 360 Public Relations, Republican State Committeeman Christian Ziegler, and Executive Director of the Gulf Coast Builders Exchange, Mary Slapp. We're doing our political roundtable, and I guess I'm in the hot seat right now. And I'm going to talk about an article that was written in the SRQ Daily this weekend. It's actually been written a lot. In particular, it's about the nonpartisan elections that are very partisan, intentionally or unintentionally. I came out, I want to say about a month ago, when I wrote an article saying that it's not right to expect that political parties not get involved into the election just because it's a nonpartisan election. And Christian, no offense, but I was immediately compared to you, and saying that you and I sound
I
alike.
take offense to that.
Yeah. Because God forbid we support an organization doing their mission.
Exactly. Well, it was only in November, I think it was, or September, that you came out with a decree.
January.
Was it January
Mhm.
that you preferred, or I'm being kind of nice because I think you were a little more stern
Mhm.
about Republicans who break party lines and support non-Republicans.
Correct.
Now, I didn't quite go that far because I don't. I differ from you in that. However you vote in the voting booth is fine. I don't really care. Whoever you support, I think people have to earn that support. However, to expect that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party stay out of a race just because it's been deemed nonpartisan, I think is a complete, God, I don't even know how to say it without saying it politely, but
Naive.
Sham?
incredibly, yeah,
Stupid.
they were stupid, naive,
no,
a sham.
no
We'll do it
problem.
for you, yeah.
So, how do you guys sit on this topic?
Well, just for clarification, my resolution wasn't how you vote in the voting booth. It was just elected officials and candidates that get support of the party to not go against our mission. So it was kind of a different take than
Sure.
really regulating who they vote for or who they support.
Well, in particular, we discussed that both in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party, if you become an official member of the party, you do sign a pledge
That's right.
that says your pledge will continue to support your party. I mean, I
You
know
have to
it's
support your party over any other party that's running.
Well, there was a big controversy in Manatee County about this too, with the Manatee County Commission. So I don't know if that went into what you were thinking also about with one of the county commissioners supporting a Republican county commissioner supporting
a
a
Democratic.
candidate,
Right.
right?
and actually that was just recently as
It was,
well.
right.
So, my attitude about a nonpartisan race, the law only limits the actual candidate itself. And I wrote a column that I've been getting so much flack for. I mean, I'm still hearing about it, that said, it is the job and the duty of the political party to provide for their members, and that means helping them figure out which candidate to support, vetting the candidate, and then also offering the candidate financial support to get elected. I'd like to know where I'm wrong in that. I mean, then you have this CCNA group, and I'll be more than happy to call them out because they're the ones who won't
They're
get
the
off
next
my
caller.
ass about it. Sorry.
Is there a bleep? Yeah, bleep.
Hopefully a 7-second delay.
There you go. Saying that they need to stay out because it's a nonpartisan election, and that's not true at all. Are there any such monster as a nonpartisan election?
No.
there's
No.
And the law probably needs to be revisited or rediscussed at
In
some
what
point.
way?
Just the whole nonpartisan, aspect of elections. I mean, it's just people have beliefs, and voters want to know what those beliefs are and what the ideology is. They want that. They want to know that label. So I think it's close to impossible to have a nonpartisan election. I don't know of any true nonpartisan election that no one's ever been asked on the trail, what's your political party?
Absolutely.
Or that candidate has not been, registered. There's very few that have been not registered as a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, which is a registration. So I just don't know if there is anything, of a true nonpartisan
But
election.
it's ludicrous, isn't it? I mean, don't you want to know the ideologies that, what that person thinks, how they feel, where they stand before you vote for them. It's just
But I
silly.
think that's what's creating the angst in this particular situation. Some folks feel that although folks may be registered with one party, they don't necessarily uphold the principles of the party. So how does the party vet that? If you're registered with the party, do they just, that's the person they support, or is there any sort of a vetting?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there isn't too much of a vetting process at the local party, right? We don't endorse candidates, we don't make recommendations for candidates. Really, the Republican Party has one mission, and when you look at the mission, it's to help Republicans get elected. It's not to help uber conservative Republicans get elected or, moderate
There's no
Republicans get
litmus
elected.
test.
No, there's no litmus test. It's to help Republicans get elected. So, I know in this case, the Republican Party did make an offer, hey, we'll stay out of the nonpartisan race, because really sometimes some of those are a little bit of a, headache for us. They're a little bit more local in the
Plus they're
cities.
taxing on your pocketbook.
Yeah, and I mean, we have limited resources, right? So there's some races that are kind of higher on the ballot that we like to focus on. But, an offer was made to the Democratic Party. They decided to get involved. And to be honest, right, when they decided to get involved, I know the chairman brought it up to the board of the Sarasota GOP, and it was a discussion that we had as a board, and we all unanimously agreed that, look, if the Democrats are going to get involved, we can't let our Republicans hang out to dry, because they are registered Republicans. Our mission is solely to help Republicans get elected. So then the Republican Party got involved. Now, it's difficult when you start doing a litmus test, because where do you stop, right? Because there have been plenty of cases in the past where Republicans are running that may not be as quote-unquote pure. But maybe that's something that the Republican Party needs to revisit. I don't know. I can't speak for the REC, but no, right now there's not a litmus test. So.
But do you think the Democrats who don't want partisan policies in place, is it because the Republicans in this town at least have more money than the Democrats and they want to keep the money out of the race?
So I'll tell you the real issue.
Okay.
The real issue is that the group of Democrats who did not want the Democratic Party to get involved is because they were supporting two Republicans. And so the actual party would work against their pick. And that's just the bottom line, because
Gotcha.
none of them complained when they were getting any of the other Democrats elected
Right.
in the previous elections.
And the plot thickens.
And the plot thickens. So that's really what it boils down to. I know, because in the 2012 race, we witnessed that, how they embraced the party and their help and the mailers and the money and everything else. I even saw at the parties afterwards when I went around to all the parties. They were thrilled to have the local Democratic Party there. It's just now that their pick, they happen to be supporting two Republicans, which, because of that allegiance and the solidarity with the party, the party would never support the two Republicans. Even though I will tell you that in the summer elections that we had, they did support an entire slate of Republicans when they were running for the hospital board. Mm-hmm. So there were quite often times that they do break party ranks. At this particular time, they didn't, and they weren't going to, because they felt that there were two viable Democratic candidates that they could get behind. And so that
when
was
you're talking
really the
hospital
issue.
board, you're talking Democratic Party?
The Democratic
Yeah.
Party
Well, that's
actually
just because
supported.
they didn't field candidates of themselves, right?
Correct.
They
It
didn't.
was a slate of Republicans from both sides. The incumbent and the opponent were all.
Yeah.
Yes, they didn't have anybody running.
Which has happened in a couple school
Right.
board races in the past as
Correct.
well. So it's just.
But I think when they have a solid Democratic candidate, they're not going to break party lines.
And there were more issues with that. That was also supporting our local hospital
Absolutely.
and keeping it
Absolutely.
local. So there were greater issues there, and it was good that everybody came together. on
I
that.
love this because, we made the offer to stay out. They rejected it. Democrats decided to get involved. Now it's really split the Democratic Party from what I've read, obviously. But it really, across town, I'm telling you, Democrats on both sides are pretty frustrated and upset with what's going on. And it's some of the more active Democrats. So, from a Republican, from the other side standpoint, I'm loving what's going on.
Are you
Yeah.
friends with Democrats? Is that what you talk to Democrats?
Yeah, I work downtown. I work downtown.
Totally
I could say that the same vocal minority that you guys claimed as during when we were talking about the builders
Yep.
are the same vocal minority that are saying that the Democratic Party is split.
I think
can
it's the
tell
same
you it's
people,
not. It actually is
that
the
are
same
complaining
people.
about the
They're
developer.
talking about something other than
Yeah. Distract.
it's-
Well,
And
I'll
I'll tell
live-
you why, because I'm sure Christian will echo this with the Republican Party. There happens to be another race coming up in 2016. There won't be a question
Dun, dun,
about
dun.
party loyalty in the next race. So say what you will about being a split party, they'll unify easily in the presidential race and all the other races that fall into play, the county commission and everything. So
I live in one of these districts, and actually the Democrat, I won't name names so I don't pile it on, but the Democrat had a volunteer come knock on my door, which I thought was kind of exciting, you know. And I said, "Oh, who are you walking for?" And they said, "The Democratic Party, but I'm not too excited about them getting involved." Literally at my door. That was the only line. That was the pitch.
volunteer?
That was the pitch from the
But
volunteer.
yet
And
they were walking.
they were walking for that the
Wow,
party
that's
for that
interesting.
candidate. But so I think that there is a little bit of a split there. But I enjoy it now. It's up to the Democrats really to field Democratic candidates
Yeah.
in all of these races,
Uh-huh.
which hasn't happened as much in the past. So
Correct.
hopefully,
Well,
we'll
we'll
see
see.
what happens here.
We got another race that we're going to be starting. So tomorrow we have the election, and come Wednesday we'll be focused on
That's
the
right.
2016, as always. All right, we're going
Never
to
ends.
we're going to take a moment and thank our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to continue on with Candace McCalia of 360 Public Relations, Christian Ziegler, Republican State Committeeman, and Mary Slapp, Executive Director of the Gulf Coast Builders Exchange. You're listening to the Nylon Report. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Nylon Report. My name's Susan Nylon in the studio of WSRQ. With me right now for my political roundtable is Candace McCalia of 360 Public Relations, Republican State Committee. I always stumble on
Can't
that.
Doing
even
that on
say it.
purpose.
Can't even
can't.
say
It's a
it.
hard one.
What's his
It's a
name
doozy.
again? Christian
Bernie
Ziegler.
Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. I started
I have
talking
never
way too
been
early.
this.
Mistaken for Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders. Executive Director of Gulf Coast Builders Exchange, Mary Slapp. All right, so Candace has been sitting on a secret for the past hour that she wants to tell everybody. So go ahead, we're listening.
Well, so we're joking before, if you could only see what's happening in the studio right now. We've got, a dog on the floor, an adorable little puppy dog on the
Toby.
dog, Toby. We've got a videographer, Cliff Rolls was on the floor. The dog was all over him a minute ago.
Scary, Cliff.
we,
the effect you have on
Love
dogs.
that dog.
Exactly.
Like a live stream.
The announcement is just that we are launching kind of a new fun venture. It's going to be called Politically Unfiltered. It is a rebrand of a brand that I launched a couple of years ago called Politically Personal. And Politically Unfiltered, we're having so much fun doing these roundtables every week that we're going to launch this new political media news source. It's going to be a website, a YouTube channel, which is what we're filming for here today, and a Facebook page, a blog. Susan, you're going to be a host. We're going to have this radio show. Christian, you're going to be a host. And we are going to have a guest host like Mary
You mean
here.
columnist.
And we'll host on the radio
Oh,
show.
okay. Yeah,
too.
sure.
Yes, and we're going to have contributors and writers and columnists. And the goal is to really cover politics from all angles, from the left, the right, the center, wherever you are. I feel that there's kind of a vacuum for that type of political reporting locally, where I want it to be one place where everyone can have a respectable discourse and we can debate back and forth about these really important issues like growth and traffic and everything that's going on. But we
From
can
a bipartisan perspective,
Yes.
as opposed to a non-partisan perspective.
Exactly.
There you
But the
go.
parties are
There you
welcome
go.
to be involved. We welcome party, partisanship. I want, all different viewpoints, and I want people to be able to kind of chatter back and forth. And so this is the beginning, and it'll be an
Yeah.
official launch
It'll be fun.
next week. But yeah, look for the website. It's not up yet, but it will be politicallyunfiltered.com. There's nothing stinky about politics here.
Oh, no, there's a ton of things stinky about
what
politics.
stinks? I don't know. We'll have to come up with some fun tagline. But it will have a
Doesn't pass the
YouTube
smell
channel. You'll see the behind the scenes stuff that happens in the studio, which is, clearly right now is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
And
Stay tuned.
I think your intention is to have a particular topic that we all write on and get the different perspectives.
Yes, dueling
From
columns.
dueling columns from
Yeah.
the liberal perspective. I think Christian's going to cover that, right?
Yeah, I
he's,
got it.
he's
I got
far
it.
left. If you didn't know,
He's so far left.
Bernie
he's
Sanders.
right.
Yeah, that is exactly right.
And
You'll
the
be
conser-
the
yeah, I'm
conservative
definitely going to write because
viewpoint.
I've been duly anointed as the new Republican
Yes.
in this community by
That's
some
right.
nutcase
That's right.
who we do not mention his name. Yeah.
Welcome.
Well, yeah,
Welcome.
so it will be like the normal political source, you know, the normal, truthful political source. Oh, we're in trouble. Are we in trouble?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're totally, we're the legitimate.
The legitimate.
Yes.
Yes.
Even though I will
like
tell
the
you
official.
how
Yeah.
many emails I got last week from big Republicans saying, "Welcome to the club." You know,
Yeah.
like I don't think you guys can handle me,
caught
but
people's
hey.
attention. You caught people's attention, and that's important
That's
in the
right.
political process.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
But
right?
it is important to raise questions like that. I mean, it's brave to speak up and to raise these questions that
Sure.
are going to truthfully shape our local community. I think it's really important. So,
And how fair would I be to constantly give the Democrats a pass? You know, and if I'm calling the Republicans out on it as well. And I Christian will remember, I was pretty hard on you in the 2012 election, all your emails and stuff that you
Oh,
were
yeah.
supporting Republican candidates and everything. So
Yeah.
I think it's just as fair to call it as you see it.
I think
Didn't it
it's
feel
awesome.
good though? Didn't it feel good to be welcomed into the
And to the
under
Republican
tent
Party.
fold?
We can call
I don't
Kathy
think I
then.
was-
You want to call Kathy then? We can change some stuff.
What did Christian say? There's sarcasm in the air. I don't necessarily think that those emails cover the wink and a nod.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, actually, I will tell you, I got a lot of flack from people who I called out, and it's a shame because you should be able to voice your opinion, not agree with everything, and yet don't sell somebody down the river because of it.
But it also means people are paying attention from the PR side.
Well, let me tell you
If
something.
people aren't talking
So
about
you-
you, then
So
that's
you know
a bad
what's
thing.
funny? I wrote a particular article, and you know, normally I get 500 to 1,000 reads for my columns on my own personal blog, and this one person who I focused on, he sent it out. I had over 10,000 reads within 24 hours.
Yeah.
10,000.
Yeah.
That's
I was
phenomenal.
like, well, it is in the world of
Right.
the internet, but
The same thing happened with the controversy over Christine Robinson in Argus. Do you
Oh,
remember that?
yes, I do.
I did I think it was a great piece on her and about her.
Oh, the
you know,
video.
a video about how she loves to shoot and that's how she, you know, blows off steam and she likes to go to the shooting range and do the clay shooting. And so when that controversy hit the air, I mean, that video made the rounds and got more
Exactly.
views than
And that was
I
all
could have
video.
ever hoped
It's
for.
always funny because you see the views go up and you have no idea how you're getting them.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's like,
Exactly.
who's
Well,
sharing this? right?
I knew particularly how I was getting the views on
Yeah.
this one, but I thought it was kind of funny because if he didn't want my column to be out, why did he keep sending it out so
Right,
many? You
right.
know,
That's
People
it.
don't get
a
it.
little
Yeah.
bit of narcissism, if you ask me. But who am I talking about?
Right, right.
All right. Well, I'm going to give everybody a chance.
Just
if
say
they-
thank you.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone wants to reach out to any of you, I'm going to give you the opportunity to let people know how to do it. Candace, I'll let you go first.
Sure, absolutely. It's Candace Magalia, 360PR. You can find us at 360PR.com or follow me on Twitter at 360Candace.
All right, and Christian?
Christian at christiangop.com. That's the way to reach
Pretty
me.
easy.
Yeah.
And Mary?
Mary Slap at gcbx.org. But before we leave tonight, I did want to mention we have a wonderful, wonderful commissioner in Manatee County, Larry Bussell, personal friend, great guy, wonderful public servant, and he had a health issue today. So I hope everybody will keep him in their thoughts, and hopefully he'll have a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
Great guy.
Thank you guys for coming in today. I appreciate it. It's always fun having you, having these big discussions. Got to get a little bit more Democrats in here next
We
time,
do.
Candace. I
We
love
do.
her list.
It's not my fault.
But you guys are great, and thank you for coming in. And Mary, thanks for being here as well.
Thank you for having me.
And tomorrow, speaking of Republicans, I'm going to have Richard Dorfman. He's coming in. Not only is he a member of the North Trail Redevelopment Alliance, he's also a member of the Charter Review Board, and he's going to come in and talk about local politics, in particular the city election. And let me remind everybody that tomorrow is the election. If you
Yes.
haven't voted,
Please vote.
please vote. We want to see all the numbers go up, actually, from higher than the March election, because
Well,
it's
what was
really
the percent in
important.
March?
22%.
Okay, so your vote counts like 5 times.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And young
Seriously.
voters get
Oh
out.
my
Young
gosh, you
voters.
can have an impact. You
Yeah,
absolutely can.
definitely.
That's it.
All right, guys, thanks for coming in today. And thanks, everyone, for listening. I look forward to talking again tomorrow at 4 o'clock on the Nally Report on WSRQ.